Our next writer, his name is William Hazelgrove. He is the best-selling author of 5 novels: Ripples, Tobacco Sticks, Micah Highway, Rocket Man, and The Pitcher. His books have received starred reviews in Publishers Weekly, Book of the Month, Junior Library Guild, ALA Editor's Choice, and have been optioned for the movies. Rocket Man was the Book of the Year at booksandauthors.net. He was once the Ernest Hemingway Writer-in-Residence, writing in the attic of Hemingway's birthplace. He runs a political cultural blog, The View from Hemingway's Attic, and a short story site called Cell-Lit, CELL-LIT.com. An ebook called Jackpine, which is going to come out in July, and a new hardcover release, Real Santa, will be out in fall of 2014. He has a website, of course, BillHazelgrove.com. Bill, can you come on up and read for us?
Well, thank you for having me. Let's see here. Okay. The Pitcher was a 5th novel, and it came, I'll tell you real quickly, usually novelists are floating around trying to find a theme, if you will, and I was down in Florida, in Naples, and my mother-in-law said, you know, there's an old World Series pitcher lives across the street, and I was like, oh, get out. You know, she's like, yeah. And my son at the time was a pitcher, and so we went out and started to play in the street every night, and in hopes that this guy would come out. Well, his garage was always up about this far, and you'd see his legs and his dog on the driveway, and you'd hear a ball game, but you never saw him. So every night we would go out and play in the street, and he wouldn't come out. And about the 4th night, the garage went up, this guy came out, and he walked by me, huge guy with a cigarette cupped in his hand, and he said, just keep pitching. So I did. I kept throwing it to my son. He went and stood by my son sort of like this and just watched him then for about an hour. It got dark, and we then came in the middle of the street, and then he sort of gave my son his philosophy of pitching, of life, of just, you know, what it was all about. Went back in his garage went down, and never saw the guy again. And it was Mickey Lolich of the Detroit Tigers. And so I didn't know him, you know, but, you know, 25 years in the majors, and I lived in this little house down in Naples, you know, sitting with his dog every day. So from that, I sort of got this idea, and I started to play around, and I came up with The Pitcher, which is about an old broken-down World Series pitcher who lives in his garage, and and a Mexican-American boy who has a golden arm, but no money at all, and just barely hanging on. And one thing I saw with my son was the influence of money in kid sports now, and so I started to sort of play around with that. So I thought I'd read you the opening, which is sort of how it all came about. Okay. I just did an audio book. You haven't lived till you've read 20 hours straight with a microphone, somebody telling you, oh, can you redo that word again? Okay, here we go. I never knew I had an arm until this guy calls out, hey, you want to try and get a ball in the hole, Sonny? I'm only 9, but Mom says, come on, let's play. This carnival guy with no teeth and a fuming cigarette hands me 5 blue rubber balls and says if I throw 3 in the hole, we win a prize. He's grinning because he's taken Mom's $5 and figures a sucker is born every minute. This really gets me because we didn't have any money after Fernando took off, and he only comes back to beat up Mom and steal our money. So I really want to get Mom back something, you know, for her $5. I take the first rubber ball and throw it over my head, and wham! The carnival guy looks at me and says, whoa, a ringer. Let's see you do it again, Sonny. It's like something happens when I throw a ball. My arm windmills over the top, then snaps down like a rubber band. It's like I'm following my arm. So I throw the second ball, and he mutters, all right, let's see you get the next ball in. I mean, we're Mexicans. And I think this guy figured he'd put one over on us. I throw the next 2 balls, and they go wild. I hit the top of the wood circle with one, and the other one flies completely over the game. The carnival guy is grinning again because he knows I have only 1 more ball. I wind up like I'd seen pictures on television, and wham, right in the hole again. He hands Mom a big white polar bear and takes a cigarette from his mouth. That looked like a 65-mile-an-hour pitch to me, he says. I don't know, I reply, shrugging. He nods and picks up the rubber balls. You should pitch, buddy, he says with one eye closed. You have a hell of an arm. I feel good about that, but I've never known a pitcher, except for the guy across the street who lives in his garage. When my friends come over, we lie in his driveway listening to the ball games like the ocean in the dark. Sometimes we listen to the Cubs when my man Zambrano is on the mound. It is cool lying on this drive in the Florida night listening to the game, because this dude pitched in the World Series. He beat Bob Mariano in the '78 series. You can check it out on YouTube. Joey, my best friend, likes to throw stuff under the garage to prod his dog to come out. The pitcher has his chocolate Labrador shortstop who sleeps on his driveway. That's the thing. He never opens the garage door all the way, just enough for the dog to slip under. You can see his white ankles and hear the game, but you never see the rest of him. We throw all sorts of stuff under his garage, rocks, sticks, oranges. Sometimes we sneak up and roll an egg under there. Shortstop eats the eggs and oranges, which really kills us. Joey and I figure the pitcher is drunk because his garage is full of because his garbage is full of beer called Good Times. Dude, who sits in a garage and drinks beer called Good Times? Anyway, we usually end up, there really is a beer called Good Times. Anyway, we usually end up playing ball in front of his house. Joey says I have the fastest arm he's ever seen, and that makes me feel good. I'm not so good at other things like school, because I cannot focus, and I give the teachers hell. Everything buzzes right over my head. My mom says I don't like to say it because it bothers the hell out of me. Let's just say reading is hard for me because the words jump around. So we go to these teacher conferences where Mom loses it. She's half Puerto Rican and charges in there in her Target uniform and wants to know why the hell isn't anybody helping her son. So when I found out I have an arm, I was like, wow, I'm good at something. A man at the police station timed me with a radar gun, and all the cops crowded around. They had me throw a baseball 5 times and just shook their heads. That guy at the carnival was wrong about pitching 60 miles an hour because the little numbers flashed 74 and 77. So after the cops timed me, we scraped up the money to join the team. I got a uniform with a couple of different jerseys. A lot of people send their kids to camps and these baseball clinics and are on travel teams, but not us. We ended up in our neighborhood when Fernando was working, and Mom says we're just hanging on now. Come on, bring it, Hernandez, Joey shouts down the street. He squats down in front of the pitcher's house and beats his mitt. I bring the heat and sometimes I hit his glove, but it's like I have this rocket with no guidance. When I draw back, this wild beast sings the ball through the air at 70 plus. The thing is, I don't have a changeup. A good changeup comes in like a fastball, but it's about 15 miles slower. With me, it's all about heat. I only know one way to throw, and sometimes Joey grabs it, but most of the time he chases it down the street. Here's my play. If I keep throwing in the street, maybe the pitcher will come out. Just tell me how to control a pitch, because really, I have no idea. So one day, I'm batting the ball in the street with Joey. It's one of those super hot days in Florida, where you just want to hide in the air conditioning all day. The street is so hot we can feel it through our tennis shoes. I smack a low grounder to him that hits a station wagon, then shoots past shortstop and under the pitcher's garage. That's what we call him, the pitcher, because that's what Joey's dad called him when he told us he won the series. Joey's dad said he thought he was in his late 50s. I guess that's pretty old, because Mom is in her 30s, and that seems old. That ball is gone, bro, Joey says, shaking his head. I stare at the dark opening and can hear a ball game. I'm getting it, I tell him, walking toward the garage. You're crazy, man, he shouts. He's going to go psycho on you. Yeah, I'm scared, but it's our last baseball. So I'm almost to the garage and my heart is bamming away in my chest when the door starts clanking up. Joey bolts across the street and I'm thinking about running too when I see the ball in the middle of the cement floor. It's just sitting there like a snowball in the dark. I'm staring now because there's a bed, a refrigerator, a desk, a lamp, and a television with the game on real low. Cans of Skull go around the lazy boy like green buoys next to a stack of Good Times beers. There's even a microwave with beans and spaghetti on a board over a slop sink. What the F, Joey says, coming back across the street. Mom says I can't use the F-bomb, so I have to abbreviate. Anyway, like I said, none of us had ever seen the pitcher before, but we didn't think we had his bed in his garage. We assumed he just hung out there to watch the games. I ain't going in there, Joey says, shaking his head. He looks at me with these big, dark Mexican eyes and shaved head. We had both shaved our heads against the heat, and in our white t-shirts we looked like brothers. Except Joey's older than me. Everybody's older than me. I turned 14 in September. Mom always said she should have held me back. I don't know, man. I would have felt pretty stupid in 7th grade instead of cruising toward high school. I stare at the baseball just sitting there, and I can feel the cooler air in the garage. Like I said, we didn't have another one. Yeah, I'm getting it, I muttered, taking a step toward the garage. Joey's eyes turn into fireballs. You go in there and that dude is going to grab your ass. Maybe the pitcher is setting a trap, but I want our baseball. So I go in. There's some old ratty fan worrying in the corner. The garage smells like dirty socks and cigarettes. The television murmurs full count, Baltimore ahead by 3. I turn back to Joey in a patch of sun. He looks like he's a million miles away. Grab the ball and run, bro. Get out of there, man, he shouts. I walk further into the garage with my heart slamming against my chest. Cigarettes are stubbed in cans on paper plates, even on the floor. The Skull cans are everywhere. I reach our baseball and take another step, then stop and stare at these pictures. The pitcher is on the mound in his wind-up. Then he has a bat over his shoulder like one of those all-American guys on baseball cards. Then the dugout pictures with one leg up, standing with other ball players. I just stare at these faded pictures tacked up in the garage while the baseball game plays. Some of the pictures are black and white and some are color. And this is my dream, you know. I want to make the high school baseball team in the fall. And one day, I want to pitch for the Cubs in Wrigley Field. We used to live in Chicago. And Mom says you can do anything you want if you believe it. I believe I can make the high school team. Although only 30 guys make the team out of 100. League ball ends after 8th grade, so you gotta make it or you disappear. Guys have been training for years to make the team with lessons, travel teams, camps. Everyone knows high school is the cutoff. You don't make the high school team, then it's game over. I keep walking along the garage wall between the rakes, brooms, and shovels, and I can't take my eyes off the pictures. The pitcher is looking sideways, one leg up, his body pivoted with the ball cocked back. I wonder if he feels the way writers and painters talk sometimes, like the way I do, like you aren't even there. That's how I feel when I pitch. It's like I wake up when I hear the ball smack the catcher's mitt. Get the ball, Joey calls again, taking another step back. I turn back to the wall and stare at this one black and white picture. The pitcher is jumping into the arms of his catcher with his legs up. The catcher has his mask off and he has his mouth open, and the pitcher is yelling to the sky. He just won the World Series against the Cardinals. The World Series. I lean close, hearing the fan, the ball game, the heat, trying to feel what he was feeling as he jumped into his catcher's arms. Come on, Hernandez. I leave the wall and step over the skull and walk past the pyramid of Good Times cans and pick up the baseball. Then I turn and walk real fast out into the sunshine. And that's when the garage door starts rolling down. Joey bolts and runs down the street, and I whip around, thinking the pitcher is behind me, with my heart bam, bam, bamming. The door drops, and then goes back up a third, then just stops. And the dog, he just groans and rolls over like nothing ever happened, and the ball game gets turned back up like it never stopped. Thank you.